Hi there. In this episode, we'll be covering how do you write a memoir. Writing a memoir is one of the most challenging but most rewarding books to write. The exploration, it's internal. It's inside of yourself. This isn't just about simply retelling your life story. It's about digging deep and challenging your memories, which is really, really hard. But do it right, and the results could change your life. By the end of this episode, you'll learn what a memoir actually is, the importance of a story arc, and why it's so important to use sensory details and show rather than tell. And stay tuned until the end of the video for an opportunity I really think you're going to enjoy. Let's dive in. A lot of times when people think of the word memoir, they think of writing a life story. And it's not exactly that. It's a story about your life, but it's not your full life story. This is not an autobiography. By definition, a memoir is a narrative composed of personal experience, which again sounds a lot like an autobiography, but it's not an autobiography. Further confusing the matter is that a lot of times celebrities will write their autobiography and put a memoir on the cover. So you think it's a memoir even though it's really an autobiography. So these things are kind of interchangeable, but not really. A memoir is really focused. It's really creatively arranged and organized and thought out, and it's usually wrapped around a central focus or theme, and it could be a theme that carries across your life, and it could be a central focus for a small period of time. You know, your memoir could cover a couple years, or it could cover the entire scope of your life, depending on the focus. Within that central theme is transformation. Transformation is crucial to your memoir. If there's not transformation, if there's not growth, if there's not progress, momentum, you're missing something. We should see who you are at the end of the book and how different it is from the beginning of the book. And again, the order could be haphazard. This is not necessarily going right by order, chronologically. This could be bouncing around a bit. You can get very creative with a memoir, but it's important to recognize the transitional element. When I think about a memoir and transformation, I think about my friend Emma Grace. She has written a book, a memoir about her life experiences and about her transformation journey. She is an awesome musician, and she's a public speaker, and she's doing amazing things, and she's overcome so much in her life. And her book and her draft is really about remembering yourself. You know, she has gone through so many challenges and ups and downs, and she was in a motorcycle crash. She had a traumatic brain injury, and she's been on this road to recovery and sobriety for the last 2 or 3 years. And I'm just super proud of her. But I see the book that she's written, and I'm excited for you to be able to read it someday. I see the book that she's written, and it's transformative when you look at who she was at the beginning of the story to who she was at the end of the story. She's a different person, and she can look back at that. So when I think about her book, and I think about a transformation journey, not every single detail in her story is in there. You know, when you think about an autobiography, it's like, I did this, then I did this, then I did this. You know, there's a lot of things that get blurred or skipped over because they don't actually matter to the focus of the book. And that's such an important thing, is when you think about telling your life story and putting your stories in book form, not everything's going to fit if it's a memoir. If it's an autobiography, maybe it could fit. But if it's a memoir, it probably doesn't. If it doesn't match that central focus, you could either take that story and find a way to connect it to the central focus, or scrap it and leave it out of the book, and that's okay. Whatever the focus of your book, you have to identify the story arc. When I sit down and start to write a memoir with someone, I've helped probably half a dozen to a dozen people do this. We really think about the beginning and ending of the story. You know, who this person is, who you are at the beginning and who you are at the end. And the trials and tribulations that you face and overcome, the challenges, the struggles, the ups and downs, how you came through those things. You know, and a huge part of that is being vulnerable and being real. You know, the reader doesn't want to hear how you just came out on top every single time and you're the greatest person in the world and you have the answer to everything. They're going to see answers and ideas and opportunities within your struggles. But it's so important for you to be real. Be authentic. Write about the things that make you feel uncomfortable. Write about the things that are difficult. It's like touching a hot stove, and sometimes you have to just put your hand right there. And I'm not saying you keep it there. I'm not saying you have to belabor the point and make yourself look bad just for the sake of the book. This is about being authentic to your journey. And your journey is a journey that somebody else has probably also gone through in some capacity. So in order for them to be able to learn from your book, and in order for you to be able to connect with readers and people, you're going to need to be authentic and be real. Another story I think of is my friend Rich Christensen, who had this really tender, heartfelt story that he told about his family and his genealogy and, who his parents actually are, who his father actually is, and he finds this out later in life. And when he makes this discovery about himself, it really threw him on the ground. It really, really hurt. And it was really painful and difficult. And if he had glossed over that and just kind of sunshine and rainbows, what does it do for him or for the reader if he can just gloss over the hard stuff? Life is struggle, life is difficult, life is hard. And being real on the pages helps you connect to people who are dealing with the same issues that you are, who can connect to your story and say, maybe I didn't go through exactly that, but I know what this other thing feels like, so I can connect to this. I can relate to this. I can learn from this, how this person overcame this obstacle. If you're not being authentic and real about it, it misses an opportunity. Another important element of memoir is showing, not telling. Use sensory details. What did the room smell like? What did it look like? Put the reader in your shoes. The feelings that you were feeling, the touch of the banister, all these different things, you want to be able to bring those sensory details out. It's so important to be able to do that because this book is a reflection of you, your experiences, your feelings, your memories, your insights, your perspectives. It's you taking this narrative journey for the reader. You're presenting this narrative journey for them. You want it to be as descriptive as possible. You want to bring out those sensory details because they really help to punch up the story. Just listing off biographical details and facts isn't going to do it. You really need to bring out those other elements. In a way, this is about breathing life into the past. The experiences that you're writing about in your book are things that you've lived and experienced and you're telling them. You want to be as descriptive as possible so you can breathe life into the past, so you can reanimate those things and bring them back to life for the reader. Another important element is to challenge your memories. Far too often, an author will write a book, they'll publish it, and someone else will come out and say, that's not what happened. You don't want that. And I'm not saying that you have to negate everything that you believe because someone else says something different. I think it's important to triangulate. It's important to talk to other people, get their perspectives. How did they remember things? Is it different than how you remembered things? It's not just about mining your own memory for these stories. It's about challenging your memories. It's about digging deep in newspaper research, in family research, in interviews. Interview the people that experienced things that you did. See if they remembered things the same way you did. See how their memories are different than yours. And you can write to that and you can explore that and recognize maybe my memories aren't as strong as I thought they were. Or maybe we both see things differently and that's okay. It's not about rewriting. It's about getting other outside perspectives because the best written memoirs are written through memory and research. And that research comes through in so many different ways, but negating that experience and just writing from your own perspectives limits opportunities for other vantage points to be at least considered. You don't want to necessarily write the story that everybody else wants you to write, but it's important to get those other perspectives to make sure that your memories are balanced. When you consider writing a memoir, I want you to also consider your purpose for writing. What is your reason for wanting to write this book? And there should be internal and external goals. The internal might be, I want to do something for myself. I want to accomplish this bucket list item. I want to do something powerful. I want to leave an impact. The external could be, I want recognition. I want people to know my story. I want to become a bestseller. Whatever it may be, you're going to have internal and external goals. And because this process is so challenging and difficult and demanding, I want you to understand what your purpose is at the beginning. Because if you know what your purpose is, it's going to give you a reason to keep going when things get really difficult. If you don't do that and you just start writing and say, I'm going to write and see what happens. I don't know where I'm going with this. I don't know what my goals are. It's a lot easier to put the book aside when things get tough. When you think about doing the writing and writing your first draft, every time I've written a memoir or worked with somebody on a memoir, we've always gone back and refocused the book after that first draft. The first draft was fine, but then the second draft got better because we understood what the story really was about. It's so easy when you're starting to write a book to work on foundation work and figure out what the hook, the audience, the outline, the structure is going to be. And then once you get the words down, what actually works? What doesn't work? Does the structure that you have make sense? Maybe you want to move things around. Those things are always going to come into play. So it's important to really take the time to sit with it. You might also work with beta readers and send them your draft to see what they think, and give them guided questions. Don't just tell them what do you think, because you're either going to get tons of edits that you haven't asked for, or you're going to get the just canned response of, oh, it's great, I loved it, or whatever. It doesn't really do anything for you. You want to ask them specific questions. What are the strengths? What are the weaknesses of the draft? What would you do differently? Was there a point in time during the draft that you didn't like so much? Ask them pointed questions. But that refinement process, that taking a moment process, that reflection process, it matters so much, because that's really where memoirs go from good to great. That's where memoirs become different and new and special. You can finally see the bigger picture that you're aiming for. You can see how the pieces fit together differently once they're on the page. It's sometimes tough to do that beforehand. So you really have to wait until it's on the page and then say, okay, how does this work? How can we move these things around? Does this fit? Is there this other thing we want to add? After so much reflection work and so much effort and taking the time to really get it right, you can move forward empowered for yourself and empowered for your reader, knowing that you've done the work, that you have seen transformation through the effort that you put into this book. You're a different person once this book is written. You are a truly different person, and you have the opportunity to connect to people in a new way because you've taken control of your story. You're telling your story in a new way, and it allows you to connect with new people, and it's such a powerful thing. If you want to learn more about how do you write a memoir, I'd love to talk. I'd love to give my insights, input, meet with you directly. We can talk more about your book. Just head to writeagoodbook.com, and there you can schedule a one-on-one strategy call with me. We can explore your story, and I can provide some input on what it takes to bring it forward. Remember, a good book can change your life. I'm Dan Good. Thanks for watching.